Hello and welcome to this episode of the No Gimmicks Just Sweat podcast. First, thank you for listening, and if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you're listening. Also, make sure you follow us on Instagram at No Gimmicks Just Sweat. No Gimmicks Just Sweat was started to showcase people from all walks of life sharing their particular fitness journeys. Everyone has a different story, and everyone has a different reason behind their journey. Hopefully these stories will not only inspire you, but also help you aspire to heights you've never thought possible. Again, thank you for listening, and now, let's get it started. Hello and welcome to the No Gimmicks Just Sweat podcast. I am your host, Eric Logan, and today we have Mireille Sine as a guest on this podcast. Mireille, how are you doing today?
Doing very well today. How are you?
I am wonderful. So, how is the weather out in LA right now? Right now, it's not warm, but it's comfortable and overcast here.
We've actually had a bit of a warm week. So I think right now we're tipping into the mid 70s, and
nice.
we get 1 week of real winter with like wind gusts and things like that, and then the next week it's just like you don't know what's going on. So it's been an interesting week weather-wise.
Right. But it's good running weather, right?
It is good running weather. I think it's funny you mentioned that because this morning I went on a run and I completely expected it to be cooler than normal. And within the first 2 miles, I was like, I know I overdressed for this. It was warmer than I expected.
All right. So when I get started, I want to kind of start with kind of like some rapid fire icebreaker questions. And a lot of things will kind of go into this, what we'll discuss even further as we kind of go through our conversation. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So, rapid fire questions. Morning runs or evening runs?
Morning runs.
Morning runs. Solo runs or group runs?
I'm pretty used to the solo runs now, but I don't mind a group run in the sense of like, running into a run buddy while you're en route.
Nice. Road runs or trail runs?
Both.
Okay. Your favorite race distance to run?
The marathon, 26.2.
All right. If you could run with any celebrity, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh.
See, I got you there.
Just one?
Just one. Okay. I'll give you two. You can do two.
Serena Williams. Michelle Obama.
Oh, okay. And your dream location to run?
It's got to be LA. Well,
no.
Hold up. Let me back that up. It's currently unknown because I haven't run everywhere yet.
Right. Okay. So no exotic location where you like, if I could just run in, just anywhere.
I think I want to run somewhere back home, like in Cameroon, if there's ever a race there. Because the only big race I know in Africa is Comrades, and that's in South Africa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So somewhere on the continent of Africa.
So, what is your story? Everybody has a story behind who they are and the person they are right now. So what's yours? How did you get to where you are today?
I got to where I am today through trial and error, as hopefully many people can relate to. I guess if we're talking, fitness wise, I guess I was sort of an active kid, from a young age. I picked up dance fairly early. When my family moved here, my brother and I were put into like the local basketball league. So we had like that kind of avenue, but it was always still about, education in our house. So growing up, it was like, trying to find that balance between, the father that just wants to focus on school, but you also know that, you like to dance, you like to move around and things like that. So it's kind of, I had that dichotomy growing up until probably college when I, had the freedom to sort of explore more things that I generally had interest in. So I still tried to dance a little bit more, and then I slowly picked up running again because of my major. I was in the kinesiology department, so we got to do all these super cool things in like the labs with exercise physiology and anatomy and things like that.
Okay.
So back then I thought, this was going to be the path I'm going to take because I had such a history with like body and movement. Um, I think I kind of harnessed that energy into running, because running, it was fun for me, but it was also like an experiment, like trying to take what we were learning in school, and apply it in my own real life experience. And that's kind of how it started for me.
Oh, nice, nice. So, um, with that, what does a week of training and running look like for you? How many hours, or how many miles, whichever way you want to look at it, do you generally do a week?
Yeah. So I'm running 6 days a week now, and I did have a sort of a big schedule shift last fall when I started my new job. In the beginning, it was kind of rocky, trying to figure out what my new run schedule would be. Prior to this new job, I think I was waking up at 6 and on the run by 7, which is a fairly comfortable time because I was at home at the time. And with this new job, I have to be, clocked in by 8:30, which presented a bit of an obstacle
Right.
as far as like, no, when I'm waking up and when I'm going on a run. So right now, my training schedule looks like waking up by 5 a.m. Monday through Saturday. And Monday through Friday, they are easy runs with the exception of Tuesday, which is a speed workout, anywhere from 6 to 8 miles on those days. I usually have enough time to get in around 7 before I have to go home and get ready for work. And then on Saturdays, I used to try and make Saturday morning like the later wake up time, maybe 5:30, but I realized that waking up at 5 was just a good way to keep it consistent with my own internal clock. And waking up, at that time gives me enough time to get dressed and eat breakfast and kind of go into the run relax instead of running, out to the park and being worried that I'm going to be out later because I started later. So
Right.
I don't know how many hours exactly, but right now I'm running anywhere between 40 and 50 miles a week.
Oh, wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm a morning person as well. So when it comes to like working out and stuff, it to me it just makes my day go by a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to sit back and go like, okay, I got to try to fit in this after work, and
Yeah.
the excuse of, oh, today was a long day. I really don't feel like running. I really don't feel like
Yeah.
working out, or I know I had planned to do 6 miles, but I'm gonna do 3 instead because I'm tired.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So getting it out of the way is a lot easier. And I find for me that like the one thing I would worry about a lot if I did have to do a run in the evening was like, how is my food going to affect me? I'm not used to running after eating, 2 meals and a few snacks, or what if it's a day that I sat more than usual, and I get pretty heavy legs after sitting down for a while. So that's something that, I had to think about when trying to make a new
Right.
schedule.
Right. So, are you self-coached or do you have a trainer or a coach?
I have a coach.
Okay, you have a coach.
Yeah. Yes. I need someone to do the thinking for me when it comes to when it comes to running. And I think just having a coach is not, it's more than the guidance, it's like the reassurance too. It's someone that is also aware of your goals, and they have the knowledge and the foundation to make a plan to actually achieve that goal. I like to take the guesswork out of things as much as I can, and just having a coach for like something like running where yeah, it's fun to me, but I'm also like trying to get better at it.
Right.
So I want to eliminate certain obstacles, and I can do that, through a coach. I don't have to, guess, oh, what's the mileage, or I want a PR in this distance. What do I have to, train with the next few months?
Right. Okay. So 2020 was crazy, and 2021, it started off a little bit better, but we still have some of the same restrictions we've had with the pandemic and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
how has that been for not just your training, but also your running? Because pretty much races were non-existent pretty much last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. For 2020, I think that, the one thing that I was disappointed about was not getting to run the Berlin Marathon, that I had finally gotten to the lottery. But I didn't feel all too bad about missing other races in 2020. That might be just personal for me, because I knew that, after the last race that I did, which was the LA Marathon, I knew that it was time for me to step back a little bit from doing as many races as I used to do, and to really kind of focus a little bit more on, the lesser known aspects of running, which, like, my strength training and nutrition and sleep. So I was mentally ready to pull it back a bit as far as, like, the racing, and to really focus on being a stronger runner. So when everything got canceled, I thought, this is kind of aligned. I have time to just run without an agenda.
Right.
And this year, I'm hoping it changes in the fall. I'm hoping we do get to race, because now I'm kind of feeling like I just miss the atmosphere. I just miss, if I'm not in a race, then I'm cheering for a race.
Right. And I kind of went through the same thing because, when I started running back in 2013, I had set kind of a goal to say, okay, I'm going to run at least one race a month.
Mm-hmm.
And some months I'll run one, months I run two, some months I run
Mm-hmm.
three. And one month, out of craziness, I ran 5. Yeah. So I've had that kind of streak going. And when the pandemic hit and races got canceled, I was like, okay, my streak over. What do I do now?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm not racing. Okay, it's April. I'm not racing. I don't have a race. May, I don't have a race. But it got me to sit back and kind of reevaluate things.
Yeah.
Kind of look at things like, where could I improve on? What areas, where I weak, where was I weaker at? What was things that were slowing me down?
Yeah.
And my body did start feeling a little bit better because I wasn't pushing myself like, okay, I ran a race Saturday. I got to, take 1 or 2 days to recover and start back training because I got another race this weekend coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that, with running, I hear a lot of people as well as myself as well, running helps them personally and professionally. Has that been the same for you?
I definitely say it's helped me personally, just for the mental aspects and the physical aspects. When I'm out running, I feel pretty powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I really try not to take it for granted, the fact that I am able-bodied, and I have the ability to just go out my door at any time and do something that I genuinely enjoy, without hindrance. So that's something I try not to take for granted. Professionally, I might still be waiting for that to happen. I've heard that too, and I've kind of like, I'm still waiting for an example that resonates with me as to how people, fit running professionally. I guess what they mean is, like, you set goals in running, and that maybe helps you set work goals as well, which I understand. So yeah, that one, I guess I'm still waiting on that one, or to see how it fits for me.
Yeah. And the example that I've gone through and that I've heard other people say is that it's made them more confident in the workplace.
Okay, yeah, that I can definitely relate to.
Right. It's made them
Yeah.
more confident, whereas they might not have volunteered for a project before. They're more
Yeah.
comfortable volunteering, the head of a project before.
Yeah.
Showing that they're focused on, preparing for a 5K or a 10K or a marathon, or focused on losing weight, that kind of translates into, okay, you're focused on completing a task.
Yeah. Okay. I think that kind of ties in with like being a morning runner too, because when you say that, I automatically think back, to myself when after I finish a run in the morning and I'm going into work, I already feel like I've accomplished so much that anything that comes up that can come up in a work day like doesn't, frazzle me as much because I know that I've taken care of myself and I know that I have, the wherewithal to take care of this problem too.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
Yeah.
All right. So, who or what inspires you as a runner?
At first, maybe not at first. I think in this stage of running, that I'm in, started about 6 years ago now, and my biggest motivator back then was to get healthy. What kept me in the sport of running was the community and people that I met throughout. I remember being so in awe of other runners during a long run that could knock out, 13 miles per weekend. And I would, be winded and tired just from doing 10 back then.
Right.
And that really that got me thinking, like, what if I could do a half marathon? What if I could do a full marathon? So my motivation in the beginning was, trying to test myself and trying to build to build this community. And I'd say right now, what keeps me motivated is the progress that I've made. My coach is pretty good at reminding me of the growth that I've experienced through running. And that's like, with the marathon times, but also as a person. So if I look back, I can tie my running journey through to my own personal growth. And I think that's kind of why I keep at it,
Okay, cool. We've all made mistakes, being either an athlete as a runner, especially starting out. What's one that stands out to you as probably your biggest mistake as a runner? Your the thing that's like, yeah, I learned my lesson from
that. My first marathon. So training for the first marathon went pretty well. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I was surprised. But during the race, I got my first cramps at mile 16 and I doubled over. And I still remember the intersection because we were just passing through Beverly Hills and we had just turned off Rodeo Drive. So this is the LA Marathon.
Okay.
And I have no idea what's going on. I never cramped once in training, so I have no idea, how I'm supposed to be feeling. But I try to shake it off, and I keep running, and then I get to mile 21, I think, and the cramps are terrible. Like, I can barely move my legs, and I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I'm gonna like hurt myself if I keep running. So I like check into the med tent, and I lay down on one of the beds and they have to like massage out my quads and my hamstring and they're giving me salt and a Tylenol or something like that. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like, there goes whatever time goal, like super ambitious time goal I had for my first marathon, I ended up finishing that marathon in like 4:55 or something.
But the key, you finished.
And I still finished. That was the thing. And so like when I look back, I remember the feeling of crossing the finish line more than I remember the pain, which I think is a good thing. Because the feeling of crossing was just like, oh, we're going to do this again.
Right.
And we're going to try and do it better so that this doesn't happen the same way. So that was my first big lesson. And it's still something that I'm like fine tuning,
Right.
The more marathons that I do.
Right. You become competitive with yourself.
Yes.
It's not just, at first, you kind of start out with that whole, I'm going to do it to say I did it, then I can just move on and not do it again. But when you get to it, you're like, okay, I can do better.
Yeah.
Okay, I can finish faster this time, or I can do this one. Yeah, so so the bug bit
Yes.
you. All right,
For
so
sure.
let's talk about Hoka now.
Hmm.
You are a Hoka flyer like myself. Yeah,
Yay.
some people may argue, but hey, Hoka's the best shoe in the world to me. Right?
I say so.
And I know with me, I tried other shoes when I first started running, and contrary to what a lot of people think, is that you know wanting to run also means you have to be comfortable while you're running. Because if
Hmm.
you're not comfortable running, um, it'll really discourage you from doing so.
Yeah.
And with me, I could never find that one shoe that made me feel comfortable running. I always just had pain. I had real bad shin splints. And I
Yeah.
remember I went to a running store and we had tried Asics, we tried Nike, everything, and then they were like, "Well, this is not a pretty shoe, but it'll probably make you feel." And again, this is back in 2013, and
Yeah.
so this was the Bondi back then. I think the three, if I remember correctly, it was the Bondi 3.
Oh, that's early.
And it was, it's not pretty, but it has a lot of cushion, and it should help you with your shin splints. Because again, I was still on the heavy side when I first started running,
Hmm.
um, and it actually helped, and I fell in love with that shoe. And until the Carbon X came out, the Bondi was my go-to running shoe.
Hmm.
So, what's your story with Hoka?
So when I first started out running, I was using a different brand, basically because it was like what I knew. In like the circles that I ran in, it was always like you're either gonna run in this shoe or you're gonna run in the other shoe, you know? And there was always like some weird, I guess, competition between people as to which one was better. But I was like, I ran in their shoe for the first couple years until I just started, having foot pain and I couldn't figure out what it was. It's like, so I could never tell if it was just like my body still trying to adapt to the running or if it was actually the shoes.
Right.
So I was like, let me, change what I can first, which was the shoes. And that's when I started trying different brands, like you said, like Asics and Brooks and New Balance, and they all kind of worked okay, like in the beginning, but I couldn't stick to it. So I started with Hoka actually through a message on Instagram in 2017. So they had reached out to me about a race that they hold up in Santa Barbara. Almost forgot. I was going to say San Bernardino. I was like, that's not right. The She Is Beautiful race that they sponsor. And they were like, "Oh, would you like to come up and do this race and maybe, try out these shoes?" And it was the Clifton 4
Okay.
or 5. No, 4. And I said, sure, because, I was in the market for a new shoe. I had heard of the brand, but I wasn't as familiar, with their shoes and their products and things like that. And I tried on the Clifton and it was super comfortable. Took it back with me, did more runs with them, eventually started trying more of their shoes. I think the next shoe I tried was the Arahi, one of the Arahis. I want to say it was a 3.
Okay.
Um, Also felt pretty good. And that's kind of how my relationship with Hoka started. It really was more on like branding and marketing type things for Instagram before it became more about me, you know, switching over to shoes that would help to propel my running journey. So now I've gotten to try a few more of their lines and I can, kind of pick out which ones are my go-tos for certain runs. And if people need a recommendation, I usually try to figure out, what it is that they're looking for in a shoe and what their goals are and can make a recommendation based on that. And I wasn't a flyer until I don't remember if it was 2020, like an official flyer. I think I was friends with the brand and I was like an ambassador at certain times. And I didn't hear about the flyer program until maybe 2019, 2020. And that's when I decided to kind of make it more official because the shoes had worked out so well for me. And I really felt that they were one of the reasons. why I could continue to improve in running. So you're right when you say like the shoe definitely makes a difference. You want to feel good when you're doing it, especially, the longer that you're out there.
Right. Yes, definitely. So with that, what is your go-to Hoka shoe?
Hmm, so many.
You sound like you're like me. I'm like, okay, for this type of running, I have this shoe. For this one, I have this
That's exactly. I could go down the list and tell you what I can wear on which day. Um, the Carbon X
one. Woohoo!
was a game changer for me. I'll say that. When I tried on the first one, it was like, first of all, my first carbon plated shoe.
Right.
You go from like reading something like that and all the running news and stuff like that to actually like having a pair on your feet. I remember it was so awkward for me at first because I wasn't used to that rocking.
Yes.
So that took some getting used to. So I'm a big fan of the Carbon X as well as the Rocket X. That's kind of my go-to for long runs that I have a speed workout like in the middle of. The Rincon was also a big favorite. I use that for a couple training cycles. And the Clifton is just like a good, fallback everyday trainer, kind of handles it all. I do like the Bondi as well. See, I can go on and on.
Again, you're like me. I have the Bondi. I have the Carbon X. I have the Rocket X. I have the Rincon. And, I
Yeah.
started doing more trail runs. I have a Stinson, and, I've got the Speed Goat.
Yeah.
So
Speed Goat is the one.
Yeah. And I got a pair for Christmas as a gift, and I finally broke them in this week. And I'm like, I'm like, yeah. First impressions, I'm loving these shoes.
I'm glad. Yeah, they're super fun. They're super fun shoes. I'm glad that more people are like more open to them, more aware of them. And I like that they're like a young company. So it's
Yeah.
like for me looking into the future, there's so much growth to be had, and I think being so young gives them more wiggle room to try, new things.
Yes. Yes. And and I think back now when I first started wearing Hokas, people used to look, everybody does it. When you lined up in your
Yeah.
car out for racing, everybody looks to see what type of shoes you have on.
Yeah.
And I know people used to kind of look and go like, "Oh,
Yeah.
But now I see so many people in different brands of Hoka.
Yeah. What's funny is that one comment that I get is, okay, so I was in a coffee shop one time, just kind of waiting for my order, and we're about to do like a group run. And I was talking to these two people I just met, and I mentioned that I was like, one of them noticed that I was wearing Hoka, and so he asked his friend if he knew about the brand, and his friend said no, and the other guy said, well, that's because real runners wear them. You kind of have to know your sport to be wearing Hoka, and so kind of I've been getting that same feedback to the effect of like people know that you are a runner, quote unquote, real runner, when you're in Hoka because that shoe is going to hold up and it's going to, treat you really well on your run. So I like where that trend's going.
Yes, yes. And again, I see more and more people. I have more people ask me about them. People will, DM me on Instagram like, yeah, I see you run with Hokas. I want to try Hokas, but I don't know which one to try. What do you recommend?
Yeah.
And this is me a little bit. Again, I'm not saying I'm the fastest runner in the world, but I've seen some people in Vaporflies and local races, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of get in that. Yeah, my goal is to beat you in my rocket.
Yeah.
I don't care what place I come, but if I cross the finish line before you in this Rocket X, then I've won. Yeah, okay.
Friendly competition.
It's the competitiveness of it. It's that one thing I find like, yeah, this is my competition. So, with running, you're also, if I'm correct, you're a student. as well.
Yeah, I'm about to finish my master's.
Okay, great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Believe me, I know that feeling. and I will give
Time
you
coming.
forewarning. Once you get that time back, you will be completely lost. Like, okay, I get all this extra time now. What do I
Yeah.
do with it?
That's the one thing I'm trying to figure out is like, how do I feel after I submit this last project? I'm like, oh, I don't know. My time's been owed to other things for so long now.
Right, exactly. So, how do you find balance and calm in your life?
Ooh. I'd say the weekends are kind of feel like a refuge. Nowadays, I really try to finish everything up, excuse me, that I need to do by Saturday so that Sunday it's just I can take my time, I can stay in bed a little longer. So the beginning of the week always starts out hectic for me, just because I have kind of that first school deadline on Wednesday evening. So I'm trying to, not just run and go to work full time, but turn in these first few assignments before I can start kind of relaxing a little bit and finishing up whatever paper I need.
Right.
So I've learned to, get things done as quickly as I can. And sometimes that means just, sacrificing a workout as it has been lately, because I'm on track to graduate in the evenings and, getting things done by Saturday, like I mentioned, because I really still want to keep Sunday like a day just for me to, I can binge watch whatever I want, just so at least I have that, just so I know that I'm getting that time to completely shut it off,
Right.
so that when Monday comes up again, it's just I'm ready to go.
Yep. I can completely understand that. So, as an athlete and a runner, where do you see yourself 5 to 10 years from now, or more specifically, what legacy do you want to leave, behind?
Yeah. Personally, I do see myself continuing, to race and to run. Um, I feel like I'm still trying to find the right marathon course type for me, if that makes sense. Like I know I like the 26.2, but the races that I've run in the past maybe may not have showcased, my skills as best as I want. So I'm still playing around with that, finding the race that most complements me.
Okay.
I also see myself, you know, trying to evolve the LA running community. I'm not quite sure what that looks like. I feel like, that's something I really can't get into until we're cleared from this pandemic and we can go back to group runs, and seeing how that looks like. What legacy do I want to leave behind? That's a good one. I guess when people think of me, I'd like them to think of someone that was ambitious or is ambitious, motivating, but also really honest. I don't try to ever play the role of like, the perfect runner, that just can balance everything and it's so easy. I really try to point out, the moments where things are going good, but when things are going not as great too. So, someone that was just a regular human being that happened to be really dedicated to running and, different projects and bringing people together and forming community and all those good things.
Okay. Okay. So, as we get close to the end, what message would you say to people who say that they can't run, or they might be older and they say, it's too late for me to start running?
It's never too late. I think the one circumstance that kind of ties those reasons together is people might be comparing themselves to others around them, or what they've been reading and seeing on social media or on TV and things like that. And they might get into, this tunnel vision of like what a runner is supposed to look like, how fast a runner is supposed to be and things like that. And I would really challenge them to expand their horizon their horizons on what it means to be a runner. You know, not everybody starts running because they want to complete a marathon. You know, some people just want to be able to run around their block or to do a 5K or to meet new people. So I would encourage them to kind of hone in on one or two reasons why they are even thinking about running, you know, in the first place, and really hold on to those reasons as they start to build, and just to, you know, start slow. Um, Take it easy in the beginning, you know, for sure, as you are building that strength and you're building that momentum. And then soon it's going to be a habit.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to touch on or share that we may have missed?
Mm, no, I think we got it.
Cool. Well, Mireille, thank you for coming onto the show. Again, I would love to have you on in the future, talking more deeply about some of the stuff. Because, you know, as you say, you are a runner, you are an activist, you are a storyteller. They kind of go deeper into some very specific, I'm getting tongue tied here, specific topics. I need to drink some water, that's why. Some very specific topics in the future. You want to let everyone know where they can find you if they want to follow you or get in contact with you?
Sure. The best place to get in contact with me would be Instagram. It's at mireille.sine. And if you want to connect on other apps, you know, I have Strava, I have Garmin, and I have the Nike Run app as well. So you can find me. I'm pretty sure my name is the same on all of them. But if anything, just shoot me a message, you know, on Instagram.
All right, Mireille, again, thank you for coming on No Gimmicks, Just Sweat.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll talk later.
Okay.
Bye-bye. And that's it for this episode of No Gimmicks, Just Sweat. I really hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe and rate and review us wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you for your support, and until next time, keep crushing your goals.